My younger brother, a high school sophomore, had been watching too much porn and became obsessed with older women. He even declared he would confess his feelings to his teacher and leave a seat with her. After my repeated attempts to talk him out of it, he finally settled down and focused on his studies. 10 years later, it was revealed that the teacher was the true heiress of a wealthy family. My brother flew into a rage. He strangled me and threw me off the building, shouting, "This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, I would have been living happily ever after with her." At the dinner table, my brother held his chopsticks, his eyelids so heavy they looked ready to drop to the floor. Mom slapped the bowl and chopsticks right out of my hands, glaring at me furiously. "You're so selfish. Can't you see your brother is clearly not himself? How can you not care at all?" I gave a cold laugh, my gaze sweeping icily over my brother. He looked a bit guilty, cleared his throat, and shot Mom a reproachful look. "What's all the fuss about? Can we just eat in peace?" Mom wore an apologetic smile, patting my brother's head, her eyes brimming with contentment. This little treasure was something she'd prayed and kowtowed for, step by step, before finally getting her hands on it. Dad kept his head down, eating his meal without saying a word. Suddenly, my younger brother looked at me and said in a low voice, "Sis, what do you think of our Chinese teacher's looks? She's got a great figure, and she looks so mature. She's totally my type. I want to confess my feelings to her and make a move." Just as I thought, it's exactly the same as in my past life. In my past life, when he said those things, I slapped him across the face, and I taught him to respect women. He was only in high school. How could he utter such filthy words? Later that night, when I got up to use the bathroom, I noticed the light in his bedroom was still on. I peeked through the crack in the door and saw him secretly watching porn inside the room. Even after watching, he wasn't satisfied. He went ahead and clipped a specific scene from the video. He then swapped the people in the scene with himself and his Chinese language teacher. My hands were shaking with anger, but I forced myself to stay calm. After identifying the root of the problem, I spent over half a year's salary to get him professional counseling. After 2 months, my brother's mental health was finally restored. From then on, he threw himself into his studies and later achieved success in both his career and family life. I thought he had moved on, but I was wrong. It all came back when the truth about their teacher's biological daughter came to light. He stormed straight to my apartment, chainsawed through my front door, and hurled me from the 20th floor, killing me on impact. He glared at me and snarled viciously, "Ugh, what a jinx. If it weren't for you, I'd have slept with her by now. She would have totally fallen for my charm, even after my death." His rage wasn't sated. He scattered my ashes into a cesspit. My parents praised him for being ruthless and manly, saying he was sure to make his teacher submit to him one day. Fearing I would turn into a vengeful spirit, he summoned a Taoist priest to suppress my soul. Perhaps the priest himself couldn't bear it. After performing rites to release my soul, he pleaded with Yama, the king of hell, and secured a chance for me to be reborn. My parents and younger brother died under mysterious circumstances, their bodies devoured by insects and ants. I was resting in the hall of Yama when I opened my eyes and found myself reborn. On the very day my brother asked for my permission to propose to his teacher. I have to say, the reincarnation service at the King of Hell's court is surprisingly efficient. I looked at my brother standing before me, his eyes dull, his face full of cunning, and sighed. "It's not that I don't support you pursuing her. Sis is just worried. Mom is so fierce. I'm afraid she'll stand in the way of your happiness." I blinked my eyes, looking at Mom with an innocent expression. In my past life, when my brother asked for her opinion, she didn't want to lead him astray, nor did she want to ruin her gentle image, so she redirected the conflict onto me. Sure enough, after shooting me a glare, my mom gave a gentle smile. "I support you, sweetie. Whatever kind of woman you like, we'll help you get her." My brother's eyes lit up instantly. "Seriously, you're all okay with me going after the teacher?" I nodded earnestly, and Mom gave a half-hearted nod in agreement. My brother picked up his backpack and happily headed out the door. The moment my younger brother stepped out the door, Mom flipped the dining table over, glaring at me with a look of pure fury. She snapped, "What is wrong with you? How could you support your high school brother in this nonsense?" I turned my head, glanced at the surveillance camera my brother had installed in the living room, and burst into tears. "Mom, how can you think that of me? He's a good-looking kid. He just has a crush on his teacher. What's so wrong with that? In my past life." After Mom saw the footage from that camera, she wept her heart out in front of the monitor. When my brother returned, he didn't say a word, but he took it all to heart. As he threw me off the building, he screamed at me, accusing me of looking down on him. My mother sighed, walking up to me with an earnest and worried expression. "Sweetie," she said, her face full of concern, "maybe you could pull some strings and get your brother transferred to another school. That teacher of his is nothing but a seductress. Your brother can't stay at that school any longer. She's definitely trying to lure him in, using every trick in the book." My mom clutched her chest, looking utterly distraught. "In my past life, after my brother's mental health had recovered, I did it to completely sever her hopes once and for all. I transferred him to the best school in the province." But Mom pouted in front of my brother and said in a pitiful voice, "Your sister is so mean. She actually wants to tear apart you and your teacher, those poor star-crossed lovers." I took her hand and pretended to be heartbroken, saying, "Mom, how could you scheme against your own son like that? He and his teacher are truly in love. As the saying goes, you can tear down a temple, but you must never break up a marriage." I feigned anger, and she just snorted, turning away to go pick a fight with Dad. She snatched the newspaper right out of Dad's hands, planted her hands on her hips, and started yelling at him. The two of them went back and forth, arguing nonstop. In the evening, my younger brother came home. The moment he stepped inside, he slammed his backpack onto the floor and glared at our mother, his face contorted with rage. "If you dare even think about trying to come between me and my teacher, I'll jump off this building." My brother clambered up to the window, the veins in his arms bulging. A tear fell from my mother's eye and hit the floor with a soft plop. "Mom knows she was wrong, and she won't say things like that again. Sweetie, please come down from there," she pleaded desperately. Only then did my brother let out a cold snort and step down from the windowsill. A little after 10 at night, my brother suddenly knocked on my door. "Sis, some kids in my class suggested I should try it out on someone else first. You're full of ideas, can you help me figure this out?" His classmates, that particular friend looks up to him as the ringleader. The whole group is notorious for bullying other kids at school. In my past life, I managed to transfer him to a different school. That was the end of his association with those good-for-nothing friends, and I, by chance, found out that all those friends of his ended up being sentenced to execution by firing squad for their crimes. I smiled and said, "I'm not really in a position to give advice on matters of the heart, am I?" "You're a smart kid, I'm sure you'll figure it out." He nodded firmly, as if he had already made up his mind. He quickly stood up and gave me a big hug, saying, "Thank you, sis." After he left, I packed up all my things, ready to move into my new place tomorrow. In my past life, after I saved up and bought a house myself, I couldn't wait to share the news with the whole family. My mother pretended to be happy for me, but behind my back, she was quietly plotting to take my house from me. He told my brother that I had forced them to buy the house for me, and that it had cost several million. My younger brother flew into a rage upon hearing it. After I died, he outright seized my house. In this life, I won't let them find out how much money I have. Early the next morning, someone was kicking my front door with loud, violent bangs. My mother went to answer it, only to find a gang of burly, rough-looking men blocking the doorway. They barged into my home and started smashing everything in sight. They grabbed my mother by the neck, demanding she pay back the money, too. The whole family was stunned, just staring at each other in wide-eyed disbelief. The leader of the thugs smashed our dining table with his fist, and then he saw me. He pointed a knife at my mother's throat and roared, "You owe us money. When are you going to pay up? If you don't, I'll chop your whole family up and feed you to the dogs." My mother's eyes darted, and she immediately understood what was going on. He grabbed the lead kidnapper's hand and pointed at me viciously. "She's the one who owes the money, go get it from her. She's so pretty, if she really can't pay it back, we'll give her to you as a gift." My father didn't say a word, just sat silently on the sofa reading the newspaper. My brother shot me a look of disgust, clicked his tongue twice, and went back to his room. The kidnappers burst into my room, hauled all my belongings outside, then grabbed me by the hair and dragged me out the door. I turned back, crying and pleading for help. "Mom, my business failed, and I borrowed 500,000 in loan shark debt. I know our family still has money. Can you please cover it for me first?" My mother spat on the ground and screamed, "You wretched thing. The moment you were born and I saw you weren't a boy, I wanted to strangle you. If I weren't afraid of going to jail, I'd have killed you long ago." I turned to look at my father. He just sighed, turned his back, and wouldn't even lift his head. The largest villa district in Jiangqing. The big guys who just trashed the place helped me move all my stuff inside. The leader walked up to me and said, "Hey, we didn't hurt you, did we? You're the one who said it had to look real." He scratched his head, looking at me with a hint of embarrassment. I smiled, said it was no trouble. and pulled out a wad of cash to hand to him. His face instantly lit up with a beaming smile. "Sis, just say the word if you ever need anything." They took the money and left. A month later, after getting home from work, I was lying alone on the big bed one evening, just settling in for a quiet night, but then my WeChat started buzzing nonstop. I opened it to find a message from my mom. The gist of it was that they'd discovered my brother had edited a video of him and his teacher. That kind of video, they were worried my younger brother might go down the wrong path, and asked if I could find a counseling service for him to see. I laughed and immediately replied to her, "Mom, could you lend me 400,000? I'm just that short of paying off my loan shark debt. I'm begging you." My mom immediately started screaming at me over the phone, telling me I'd be better off dying somewhere far away, so I wouldn't tarnish the good name of the Sue family. Before she could even finish her tirade, I received a video from my cousin. In the video, my dad and our neighbor, Auntie Wu, were acting very intimate in the restaurant. My cousin said the bubble tea shop next door is hers. She was doing her rounds when she suddenly walked in on this scene, and she asked me what she should do. My mom has always looked down on my dad's side of the family, especially my cousin's household. Every chance she gets, she mocks them relentlessly. Over the years, I've been cleaning up my mom's messes, often helping these relatives both openly and behind the scenes. That's why they draw a very clear line between me and the other three in the family. My cousin, afraid I wouldn't believe her, video called me directly. My cousin told me that, as it turns out, my dad and that Aunt Wu were childhood sweethearts. However, my father's career was at its peak, and at that time, he was in desperate need of a powerful patron to give him a leg up. He was working for my maternal grandfather. On one occasion, my mother came to deliver some documents to him. She took a liking to my father right away. After much deliberation, he decided to marry her. It was then that I remembered, in my previous life, after I died, my father plotted against my mother and brother, poisoning their meals day after day. After the mother and son died, he took in Aunt Wu and their daughter, and transferred all of our family's assets into his own name. Later, while the three of them were on a countryside outing, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck, killing them all. It was then that I was reborn. I had always wondered why my father chose to stand by and do nothing every single time. After fully recalling the memories of my past life, I couldn't help but laugh. Even before they were married, he would constantly put down and emotionally manipulate my mother. He made it clear, both overtly and covertly, that he wanted a son and considered a daughter to be bad luck. After I was born, he became even more unrestrained in his efforts to undermine my mother. After he had driven my mother to the brink of madness, he watched the whole absurd scene unfold with cold indifference. He wants to sit back and let others fight it out, reaping the rewards without getting his hands dirty. Not in this lifetime. I'm determined to bring the mastermind behind it all to his knees. In a family, if a woman is constantly driven to the brink of madness, you can be sure there's a cold, hypocritical husband playing the saint behind the scenes. I saved the video and then had someone look into Auntie Wu's daughter. As it happens, Auntie Wu's daughter is in the same class as my younger brother. I've seen this girl before, in my past life. She was the one who devised quite a few schemes for my dear brother. The next day, my people sent me a message. It turns out that Auntie Wu's daughter was actually my brother's ex-girlfriend. I can hardly wait to see the look on my brother's face when he finds out about all this. Using a burner number, I sent all the evidence and videos I'd gathered, in one go, to my brother and my mother separately. After sending the videos, I hacked into the camera my brother had installed in the living room. 3. I saw my mother hurl the phone at my father's face. With the truth out in the open, my father admitted to everything without hesitation. Just then, Mrs. Wu and her daughter showed up at the door. My father couldn't hide the joy on his face when he saw them. My mother was so furious she cried and shouted, but he just shot a cold glare at my brother and her, saying, "If you can stand it, stay. If you can't, get the hell out." Aunt Wu barged into their bedroom and threw all of my mother's things out. A perfectly good home was completely turned upside down by that mother and daughter. My brother shot Mom another one of those disdainful looks before retreating to his room alone. How laughable. The precious darling she guarded with her life couldn't even be bothered to lift a finger when she needed help the most. I was watching the surveillance feed with great satisfaction when my phone suddenly rang. I checked the caller ID. It was Wu Yan, Auntie Wu's daughter. "Sis, are you happy with what I've done?" Wu Yan's cool, detached voice came through the phone. "You think you can get me to fund your overseas studies with this half-hearted effort? Really?" Wu Yan is a smart kid. I was sure she'd understand what I meant. Sure enough, for the entire next month, she kept begging my father to divorce my mother, to give her and her daughter a proper, respectable status. My father tried to placate her patiently at first, but in the end, the whole thing blew up into a huge scene that ended up at his workplace. The senior leaders above my father were all personally mentored by my grandfather. Now, those who covet my father's position are watching like hawks. After all that commotion, he was demoted. Wu Yan and her daughter still wouldn't let it go. They went to his workplace every day, wailing and making a scene. My mother, throwing all propriety to the wind, confronted and berated them daily. In the end, my father took early retirement, and so, the whole farce finally came to an end. Sis, is my sincerity enough now? The young girl asked nervously, perched on the edge of the sofa. I nodded and handed over all the paperwork I had completed. Oh, by the way, sis, he's not my real father. My mom told me in secret. She said she doesn't even know who my dad is. It's just that your dad was a bit slow on the uptake, an easy mark. So my mother got him to take responsibility. But I don't want anything to do with all that anymore. From now on, I'm living for myself. All that messy business has nothing to do with me. She picked up the documents and gave me a deep bow. The girl's face had shed all its previous pretenses, leaving only an expression brimming with hope, as if she had been reborn. As I looked at her, it suddenly came back to me. In our past life, she hadn't been struck dead by lightning. It seemed she had been saved, in the end. She apparently became a titan in some industry and even donated millions in my name to remote mountain regions. Her mother never treated her well, using her merely as a tool to extract money from my father, her personal ATM. Wu Yan, I called out to her. She turned to look at me, and I gave her a sincere smile. I wish you smooth sailing on the road ahead. She smiled back at me, then suddenly, it seemed like she remembered something. Go on, tell me, I said, lifting my coffee and taking a sip. Aren't you going to give our teacher a heads up? If you can let bygones be bygones and make peace with me. What about the teacher? The girl was sharp. She must have seen right through everything. I smiled and shrugged helplessly. They have their own sense of loyalty and duty. Why should I interfere? Wu Yan nodded and strode off. In my past life, fearing my brother might do something reckless again, I subtly hinted at it to their Chinese teacher. To my surprise, she turned around and sold me out to my brother. She told my brother, even though the teacher doesn't like you, she couldn't bear to see you poisoned by a family member who only knows how to slander and smear you in the shadows. From then on, my brother's love for the teacher grew deeper, and his hatred for me intensified. I had thought that, as fellow women and especially since she was a teacher, giving her a heads up couldn't possibly go wrong. I never expected that in return I would get her betrayal, and that teacher, in a swift move, took to a social media app to vent about the trouble of being too charming and pursued by his own student, raking in a massive amount of traffic. After my dad happily entered retirement, he's been keeping a much lower profile at home. Auntie Wu was also sent packing by my mom. Their little family of 3 finally had a bit more peace and quiet. I was abroad relaxing with friends when my mom started bombarding me with frantic messages again. She said my younger brother's grades had dropped a lot recently, and he was always mooning over a photo of his Chinese literature teacher. As she spoke, she sent me a photo of the teacher, along with a picture of my brother looking utterly lovesick. That fake heiress of the Jiang family, the wealthiest clan, watched as I brazenly laid out my chat logs for all to see. She's a smart one. The Jiang family has been coasting on its richest reputation for years, but their rigid management philosophy has left them hopelessly out of touch with the market. She's been wanting to use me as a pawn for a while now, to leverage technological innovation and break into foreign markets. Don't worry, I said, clinking glasses with her as we shared a knowing smile. Even if she returns to the Jiang family, I'm still the one calling the shots. I've already won over all the old guard. I'm really curious, how did you manage to get this far all on your own? And from the looks of it, your family doesn't even know. Her eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at me. I just smiled without a word. In my past life, I clung too tightly to that so-called family bond, so I made my family my entire world, treating my career as nothing more than a side gig. Now that I see their true colors, I can move much faster. With the memories from my past life and the resources from my grandfather, building my career is a piece of cake for me. My mom kept bombarding me with messages. I told her I was working a construction job and that I'd come see her when I had a day off on the weekend. Only then did the barrage of messages stop. After a few days abroad, I was in a fantastic mood. I opened the door and stepped back into the home I hadn't returned to in 9 months. The atmosphere was stifling, so heavy it was hard to breathe. The moment I crossed the threshold, I heard my mother's wailing. There, lying in my younger brother's backpack, was a shockingly bright pink pair of underwear. Mom went berserk, grabbing my brother by the collar and demanding, "Whose is it?" My brother just snorted coldly and openly admitted, "Put it down, don't touch our teacher's underwear." Hearing this, Mom's face twisted in fury. He really is just like in his past life, always so quick to spread vile rumors about women. That teacher of theirs, though she's a bit of a flirt with men and rather off-putting, she would never stoop to something as sordid as having an affair with her own student. "Is this really your teacher's?" I asked, crossing my arms and raising an eyebrow at his performance. He snatched the underwear, took a deep inhale, then, with evident relish, neatly folded it and placed it back in his bag. My stomach churned. I had always believed my brother's nature was shaped by the people around him and his environment. Now I see he was born rotten, a genuine, living pathology. I had the sudden, overwhelming urge to snatch that underwear and set it on fire. After all, any woman who saw a scene like that would be utterly revolted. But the moment I remembered what her teacher did in my past life, I gritted my teeth and forced myself to calm down. Right now, I just want to watch them get caught in their own trap and turn on each other. I have no desire to get involved and end up with a mess on my hands. I'm going to marry our teacher and bring her home, and you all can figure it out. If I can't marry her, I'll jump off this building," he said, glaring at us furiously. Mom stepped in and slapped him across the face. "That seductress has really bewitched you. I'm going to the school tomorrow to tear her apart." After a whole night of chaos, it was finally over. I sneaked back to my own place. I couldn't stand being there a second longer. The whole place disgusted me. The next day, true to her word, she went and caused a scene at the school. She sat at the school gate, shouting through a megaphone that the teacher was shameless and had seduced her younger brother. The teachers knew who my mother was and didn't dare to cross her. Emboldened, she grew even more brazen. A teacher came to the gate to reason with her, but she slapped him across the face several times. When my younger brother found out that the mature teacher he was obsessed with had been hit, he was so furious that he ran down from his math class. He stormed to the door and smashed my mom's megaphone. "You shrew, I just have feelings for our teacher. Why can't you just let us be?" Hearing this, the Chinese language teacher nearly choked on her own breath. "What do you mean you have feelings for me? I'm your teacher." But my brother, acting like a madman, shielded the teacher behind him and glared daggers at our mother. My mom lost it too. She just didn't care anymore. She grabbed a pair of underwear and the video my brother edited himself, and hurled the whole mess right at the teacher's head. "You little homewrecker. Instead of teaching properly, you spend all day at school trying to seduce my precious son. I'll tear that pretty little face of yours to shreds." Mom rolled up her sleeves and lunged at the teacher in a frenzy. The scene descended into total chaos. It was impossible to pull them apart. Soon enough, someone posted this material online. Netizens seemed utterly obsessed, clamoring for the video all at once. Others even started a business reselling the video. Meanwhile, the Jiang family recognized the language teacher in the video as their long-lost daughter, their true heiress. We all know the truth, whether she was genuinely lost or if there's more to the story. After all, the Jiang family is wealthy and powerful. If they truly wanted to find their biological daughter, it would have been a simple matter, yet they didn't search. Instead, they orchestrated this whole charade of the real and fake heiress. That old Master Jiang kept who knows how many concubines. The whole household is a mess. If it weren't for the fact that I saw that fake Jiang family heiress was sharp and had some redeeming qualities, I wouldn't have wanted anything to do with them at all. Soon after, she was taken back to the Jiang family. When my father heard the news, he was filled with regret. "Son," he said, "did you know about her identity all along?" My younger brother remained silent. My father, clutching his chest as if he might die of anger on the spot, looked at my mother and cursed several times. Foolish, how utterly foolish. He's been getting a lot of hate online these past couple of days, but it hasn't broken him. When he heard his Chinese teacher was actually the real heiress of a wealthy family, his eyes instantly lit up. "I'm going to make that woman mine," he vowed, as if steeling his resolve. My mother also shed her usual melancholy. "She's the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. I suppose she's barely suitable for you," she said with a couple of disdainful snorts. The Jiang family's fake heiress sent me a message. She said the real heiress returned home, crying and making a scene, demanding they get justice for her. But the Jiang family has no intention of holding my brother accountable. Through their connections, they managed to dig up some information about my grandfather. To be perfectly honest, it's a complicated mess, but the bottom line is, they never took the real heiress seriously in the first place. Now, With such a capable stand-in in the Jiang family, even a blind man could see which way the wind is blowing. My brother has been stalking Jiang Yu like a madman lately. She's the real Jiang heiress and also his teacher. He follows her around every single day, showering her with flowers and all sorts of gifts. The Jiang family turned a blind eye to it. In fact, they were more than happy to see it come true. I was out at a bar having a good time with friends when a bunch of thugs suddenly crashed the party. A few of the thugs cornered me and started reaching out, trying to get handsy. I glanced at my people in the corner. Before they could even make a move, someone had already knocked those thugs out cold with a bottle. Jiang Yu stood there, clutching the broken neck of a bottle, looking timidly at the thugs sprawled on the ground. I glanced behind me as my people swarmed in, dragging away the bodies scattered haphazardly across the floor. Jiang Yu sat across from me, her eyes filled with an inexpressible shock. I met her gaze with the same intensity, my lingering resentment from her actions in our past life coloring my view. I never knew she had this side to her. Do you hate Su Bin? I poured her a glass of wine. She clenched her teeth and said nothing. I can help you, but I despise betrayal more than anything. Do you understand? I crossed my legs and looked her straight in the eye. She suddenly stood up. But before her knees could fully bend, I quickly grabbed her arm. I absolutely despise it when people kneel to me on a whim. I had someone hand over all the evidence we had gathered over the years of what my brother had done to her. Don't let me down. She nodded firmly and gave me a deep bow. In less than a week, the police came and took my brother away. He looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. Sis, why? This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Not in the last life. Sis, please save me. I know you have the power to get me out of here. My younger brother clutched my hand desperately, refusing to let go. I lifted his chin and said mockingly, my dear brother, you weren't so merciful in our past life when you threw me off that building. Now were you? He knelt on the ground, begging for my forgiveness. Sis, I never meant to kill you in our past life. I swear, I just lost my head for a moment. I was manipulated. None of this has anything to do with me, sister. You have to understand. I looked at him and didn't say a word. Even if he really was manipulated, in my past life, I gave up my career and stayed by his side for 5 whole years. 5 years, 5 whole years. Even a stone would have warmed up by then. My brother turned to look at our parents and suddenly began hurling abuse at them. He said every vile thing imaginable. My brother was taken away. I later heard that in prison, unable to bear it, he took his own life. When my parents heard the news, their hair turned white overnight. Somehow, they managed to find out where I lived. The two of them knelt before me, apologizing over and over. Sweetheart, they pleaded, now that your brother is gone too, please just come home. All right, I'll pay back your money for you. My mother was in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. My father, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke up. Just come home already. We're on our knees begging you. What more do you want from us? 5, so you beg me. And I'm just supposed to come back. Do you have any idea how many people beg me for things? Am I supposed to grant every single one of their wishes? The old couple was left speechless by my retort, but my father still refused to give up. You're my flesh and blood. How can you deny us? How can you be so cruel? I just smiled. I didn't bother arguing with them any further and simply had someone show them out. After cutting ties with those relatives, my career really took off. I next saw the old couple in a hospital bed. On the bed next to them was Auntie Wu. The condition of all three was exactly the same as in my previous life. It seems that even if they were reborn, the heavens would not tolerate them. The absurd part is, they couldn't even get out of bed, yet they kept muttering about their precious son. Story 2. I was reborn on the very day Gu Yanzhou came to my house to break off our engagement. At that time, he was head over heels for his DJ sweetheart. Their love was all-consuming. He was determined to call off the wedding, deaf to everyone's objections. Uncle, aunt, I admit I was in the wrong in this matter. The company in North City will be transferred to Zhou Zishua's name. Standing in my family's living room, Gu Yanzhou claimed he felt guilty and was offering me compensation, but his condescending tone didn't carry a shred of remorse. No, my father refused on the spot. You were the one who came to propose. And now you're the one who wants to call it off. You've made my Zishua a laughingstock, subject to your every whim. How is she supposed to show her face in public after this? Gu Yanzhou frowned slightly, displeased. That's why I offered her compensation. This marriage was never my idea in the first place. It was just a business arrangement decided by the old man at home. After saying that, he turned to look at me, his expression tinged with pity. If the old man hadn't considered the old ties from years past, your Zhou family would have vanished from the business world long ago. You've only survived to this day by marrying into our family, you should be content with that. What does that mean? He's saying my family has no shame. My mother is the daughter of Gu Yanzhou's grandfather's first love. Back then, the old man, in order to marry into a wealthy family, abandoned the woman who supported him through university. He got together with a rich heiress, and that's how he built the business empire he has today. As people age, they tend to dwell on the past. Consumed by guilt, he sent Gu Yanzhou to propose, binding us in a marriage contract. My father was against it from the start. Gu Yanzhou's name was always in the tabloids, linked to one model or influencer after another. He was no good match for me. But with our family business on the brink of collapse, the Gu family was our last lifeline. On top of that, I'd been infatuated with Gu Yanzhou for over a decade. Worn down by my relentless pleading, my father finally gave in, albeit reluctantly. Now, with the wedding date fast approaching, Gu Yanzhou has taken up with some innocent-looking girl from the nightlife scene and wants to call off our engagement. This is absolutely intolerable. I thought it would be a legendary love story born of a business alliance, but it ended up being the joke of the business alliance. I am that joke. Since you want to call off the engagement, I wholeheartedly agree this time, but that company in North City isn't enough. I looked at Gu Yanzhou, my face a picture of delicate, tearful distress. Yanzhou, I'm happy you found your happiness, but is our shared childhood, my feelings for you all these years, is all that only worth a measly, broken-down company? The tears were an act. Angling for more assets was the real goal. Gu Yanzhou's face showed even more pity and self-reproach as he said, "Go on, then, what do you want? I'll agree to anything." Haha, in that case, I won't hold back. I want both plots of land, the one in the south of the city and the one in the north, and swap the company in North City for that tech firm in Anyang City. You know I love wine. Throw in a French vineyard for me as well. Give me another 2 billion in cash. Under Gu Yanzhou's increasingly furrowed brow, I was utterly heartbroken. What I've lost isn't just over a decade of my life, but my love as well. Yanzhou, if I were to trade my love for you and all these years by your side for this paltry bit of property, wouldn't that be selling you short? Yet, taking more would only make me think of you every time I looked at it. Gu Yanzhou's previously grim expression softened considerably after hearing my last two sentences. We'll do it your way. With a single phone call from him, several printed copies of the contract were in my hands within 30 minutes. After reviewing them in detail and confirming there were no issues, I signed, stamped, and fingerprinted them in one smooth motion. With the matter settled, I completely transformed my demeanor. Gone was the tearful, heartbroken look, replaced by a beaming smile as I said, "Take care on your way out, Mr. Gu. I won't see you to the door." Gu Yanzhou looked at me with suspicion. My parents looked utterly frantic. "Sishue, what's wrong? Don't scare us like that." To them, my sudden shifts between weeping and laughing were clear signs of a mind shattered by the blow. In truth, my mind has never been clearer. That earlier performance, the torrent of tears, the picture of utter heartbreak, was all an act for Gu Yanzhou. A play for those few properties. In our past life, we were in the same class from elementary through high school. Thanks to old Master Gu's behind-the-scenes maneuvering, we shared a desk for 12 years. He once said I was the first girl he ever had feelings for, that he liked how well-mannered and sensible I was. Perhaps it was precisely because I was too well-behaved and sensible, never stepping a toe out of line, that those qualities slowly morphed into being rigid and dull. During university, all sorts of beautiful women began appearing around Gu Yanzhou, different styles, every type imaginable. He never turned any of them away. He didn't even spare a glance for me, his girlfriend in name only. Yet, I loved him with all my heart. At our university graduation party, someone slipped something into his drink. I saw a middle-aged man in black clothes lead his disoriented self away. I followed him all the way up to the rooftop. "Gu Yanzhou, if I couldn't find your grandfather, did you think I couldn't find you? The Gu Group owes me my son's life. I'll take yours as payment." The middle-aged man viciously dragged Gu Yanzhou toward the edge of the roof. Thinking on my feet, I dialed the police while using the obstacles on the rooftop to quietly follow. I know about the homicide that happened at the Gu Group last month. It caused quite a stir back then. Turns out, the programmer who died from overwork while pulling an all-nighter at home was that man's son. "Aren't you just after the money? What's with this grand display of fatherly love here?" Gu Yanzhou, with a sudden surge of audacity, showed no fear and taunted provocatively, "Your son died in his own home. What does that have to do with the Gu Group? If you want money, just say so. I might even respect you a little more." The middle-aged man grabbed Gu Yanzhou by the collar, his eyes bloodshot. "Money? Only people like you, who have more than enough, care about that." I don't even care about my own life anymore. Why would I want your money? The middle-aged man was furious, but he hadn't lost his reason. From his words, it was clear he knew the principle of a life for a life, yet he still wanted to kill Gu Yanzhou. He wasn't afraid to die, he was determined to get justice for his son. People like that are the most terrifying. Seeing the two of them nearing the edge of the rooftop, I could hold back no longer and leapt forward. Uncle, please calm down. I heard everything you just said. Think about your son. If he knew you wanted to trade your life for his, he would never agree to it. The middle-aged man looked at me, who had suddenly appeared, without panic, and gave a bitter smile. What do you know? Trading a worthless life like mine for the heir to the Gu group is a bargain. What hope is there left in living? He lifted Gu Yanzhou up, ready to shove him over the edge. My heart plummeted to the depths, shattering into a million pieces. Thank goodness my body moved faster than my mind. In those few steps, I sprinted towards Gu Yanzhou with a speed I never knew I possessed. Finally, my hand caught hold of his clothes. With all my strength, I pulled, dragging his suspended body back onto the rooftop. The momentum sent me flying over the edge of the rooftop, seeing no sign of the familiar figure at the rooftop's edge. A faint smile touched my lips. Gu Yanzhou, this is as far as I can go for you. The next time I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital. I was caught by some branches on the way down. I survived, but my leg was broken. Upon learning that I had saved Gu Yanzhou, and after confirming I was out of mortal danger, Old Master Gu immediately held a press conference to announce our engagement. This time, Gu Yanzhou agreed. It was a blessing in disguise, bringing me one step closer to marrying him. I didn't cry when I faced the middle-aged man alone on the rooftop. I didn't cry when I fell from it. I didn't even cry when I woke up to the agony of a broken leg. I cried when I heard the news that Gu Yanzhou and I were to be engaged. For 17 years, I was by his side, yet I remained invisible. Now, I finally have my rightful place, but my parents wouldn't agree. After that, our family business took a nosedive. Who would dare do business with us after we offended the Gu group? That's what I believed in my past life. In reality, it was because Old Master Gu thought my parents were being unreasonable. He secretly gave the word to cut off business with our family, which is why our fortunes plummeted and we were pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. I went on a hunger strike and refused medical treatment as a form of protest. My parents, heartbroken for me, agreed with tears in their eyes. Gu Yanzhou and I held our engagement ceremony, arranged by his grandfather, Old Master Gu. I thought that because I had saved his life, Gu Yanzhou would finally see me and treat me well, but I was wrong. I became an invisible fiancé in his eyes. Zhou Shue, I'm grateful you saved me, but I can't have only you. As long as you take good care of me and stay devoted to me, the position of my wife will always be yours alone. I was heartbroken, yet I consoled myself with the thought that, in his heart, I must still be special, and so, we developed a unique, unspoken understanding. When he was getting annoyed by those women pestering him, I showed up at just the right moment. I used my status as his fiancé to fend off those women who were throwing themselves at him like a pack of hungry wolves. I thought Taosher was no different from those other women. You don't find many decent people in nightclubs, but Gu Yanzhou, as if possessed, grew to despise me. He wanted to call off our engagement, even going so far as to openly defy Old Master Gu. I watched helplessly as he walked away from me, leaving me with no choice but to turn to Taosher. The girl wore a little white dress with a red bow in her hair, looking every bit the delicate, vulnerable little bunny that tugs at your heartstrings. No wonder she became Gu Yanzhou's exception. Even I couldn't help but feel a protective urge towards her. I followed the old playbook and used money to pave the way, 5 million to leave him. Taosher's pride was wounded. I'm not with him for the money. It seems that wasn't enough, so I upped the offer, 10 million. Taosher said angrily, Miss Zhou, do you think money is everything? You think everyone is like you, reeking of money, using it to trample on other people's feelings, trample on them. From the very beginning until now, I've been nothing but civil. How on earth have I trampled on her? If you won't take the money, then let's talk about principles. Do you know who I am to Gu Yanzhou, Miss Tao? Taosher wore a pained, self-reproachful expression, yet the words she spoke were utterly shameless. Sis, I know it's wrong, but Yanzhou and I are truly in love. I can't let him go. I'm sorry, he doesn't love you. You won't be happy with him. If you really care for him, you should let him go. Let him make his own choice. Remembering the scene from my past life, I could only laugh in bitter exasperation, but back then, I was still fooled by Taosher's delicate, seemingly fragile appearance. I genuinely began to wonder if my love for Gu Yanzhou was wrong, or if my approach was flawed, driving him further and further away. Yet, I couldn't bring myself to give up on the man I had loved for over a decade, even if his heart wasn't with me. I appealed to his emotions and reasoned with him. Tauscher is still the same. Stubborn as a mule, just like another version of me, but only I know how agonizing it is to love Gu Yanzhou. He was good to me when we were young, but what about later? I don't want anyone else to be trapped in the torment of love, unable to break free, the way I was, so I started to feel a soft spot for Tauscher. Have you seen all those news stories about Yanzhou? He's not the right one for you, you won't be able to keep him. It's laughable, really, my father once told me the exact same thing. But I didn't listen, yet here I am, hoping Tauscher in front of me will take it to heart. All that in the past was just Yanzhou playing a part. Now, he is only me, he wants only me. I am the true love he spent his whole life searching for. Desolation. That single word is the only one that can describe what I felt in that moment. If you are his true love, then what does that make me? The fiancé in name only. But in reality, just a dog he can summon and dismiss at will. I dropped a bombshell, hoping to make her see the truth. You haven't heard, have you? Yanzhou took that rising starlet from the entertainment world back to his apartment last night. You could never be the exception for him. If you're willing, take the money I'm giving you, find a small town somewhere, and you'll be set for life. After that conversation ended, Tauscher confronted Gu Yanzhou, and they had a huge fight. Gu Yanzhou couldn't bring himself to be angry with her, so he took all his fury out on me instead. He had his men abduct me to a derelict construction site, forcing me to call off the engagement and hold a press conference to publicly apologize to Tauscher. No matter how many women he had before, he never once thought of calling off our engagement. I could still lie to myself, telling myself that perhaps he was just born without a heart, but now, over a decade of feelings, I would have given my life for him. Yet it all pales in comparison to his 2 months with Tauscher. I panicked. I could accept him being heartless, but I could not accept his heart belonging to another woman. Breaking off the engagement, of course, as a hopeless romantic, I was unwilling, but in the end, I met a violent end. By the time my body was discovered and my parents arrived, a rat was gnawing at my thigh. The sight made my mother faint on the spot. When she came to, her mind had snapped, she had gone mad. Gu Yanzhou and Tauscher got married without a hitch, building their happy life upon the foundation of my suffering. The economic crisis hit, and combined with Gu Yanzhou's relentless pressure on my family's company, it declared bankruptcy within just 2 months. Driven to desperation and blinded by hatred, my father, unable to get close to Gu Yanzhou, broke into their new home, stabbed Tauscher to death, and then, in utter despair, leapt from the rooftop. In the end, in that past life, there were no winners, but our family is the most innocent of all. Looking at my parents standing before me, their faces etched with worry, I gently embraced them. Mom, Dad, please don't worry, I'm okay. I will absolutely not let the tragedy of my past life repeat itself. As for Gu Yanzhou, I've already figured out a way to deal with him. I didn't set my sights on Gu Yanzhou's businesses for no reason. In my past life, 3 months later, the economic crisis hit. Even a giant like the Gu Group began its descent into ruin. Yet, at this critical juncture, the value of those 2 plots of land in the southern and northern districts skyrocketed, securing the massive Gu Group's leading position. A fire had coincidentally broken out at a French wine estate, turning the surviving bottles into a dwindling luxury, with their market price being driven to astronomical heights. That new tech company in Anyang City would go on to grow into the industry's bellwether, bolstered by these 3 sectors. The Gu Group not only weathered the economic crisis but soared to new heights of success. That's why I had to put on an act to take control of these 3 industries from him, the very ones that would shift the balance of power in the future. This is the key to my revenge, and true to my word, that very night, I posted a statement on my social media announcing the termination of my engagement to Gu Yanzhou. After posting it, I drifted off to sleep with a deep sense of satisfaction. As for that scumbag and that trashy woman, the economic crisis will take care of them. I need to be fully prepared before the crisis hits. When I woke up the next morning, I was ready to fly to Anyang City to take over the new company. While scrolling through my phone at the airport, I discovered that the statement I posted last night about calling off the engagement had gone viral. The comments from netizens below went absolutely wild. Yanzhou is finally single again. Congratulations, party popper. How shameless is this woman? She was clearly the one who got dumped by Yanzhou, yet she rushed to announce it first just to save face and avoid looking like the rejected party. So calculating. No wonder Yanzhou didn't like her. I just looked it up. the director of Gu Group's only new tech company has been changed to Zhou Zixue. Gu Yanzhou is incredibly generous, a whole company as a breakup settlement. Another day. Another reason to wish I were Gu Yanzhou's woman. The breakup benefits are just too good. Can I just say, Zhou Zixue is the one who's truly free now, right? Her fiancé was fooling around outside every single day, her family is well off, it's not like she needs the money, there's no reason she had to stay tied to that Gu guy. I watched the online bickering with relish. Like a complete outsider, however, my phone screen lit up with an incoming call notification. The moment I answered, Nuonyuo's indignant voice came through the line. Xiao Shuer, did Gu Yanzhou force you to send that? Tell me the truth, and I'll go pluck that little white flower right now. Knowing her, she absolutely would do it, too. Nuonyuo is my best friend, she's been telling me for ages not to put all my eggs in one basket. But in my past life, with my hopelessly lovesick brain, I wouldn't listen to a word of it. Frustrated by my inability to change, she had no choice but to help me deal with those women Gu Yanzhou had on the side. In my past life, after my family's downfall, it was also her who took my mother in after she lost her mind, caring for her until her peaceful passing. Hearing that familiar voice again, I fought back the tears welling in my eyes and explained the whole situation to her from start to finish. But I didn't mention the part about being reborn, it was just too unbelievable. I just said I had a dream, and then I was suddenly wide awake. Nono was really happy for me and promised to pick me up at the airport when I returned. I stayed in Anyang City for a month, getting the company completely under control. During that time, I also made a trip to France to discreetly move that batch of wine, which had been in a serious fire, to an external storage location. Nono came to pick me up on her motorcycle. Xiao Shuer, there's a big show tonight, but I'm afraid it might upset you to watch it. After a month of being immersed in work, far from looking haggard, I actually feel refreshed and renewed, brimming with a sense of vitality. Men really do just get in the way of my self-improvement. What kind of show? Tell me about it. Seeing the clarity in my eyes, with no trace of being lovelorn, Nuo finally felt completely at ease. She told me all about that scumbag and his trashy girlfriend over the past month. Taosher eventually found out that Gu Yanzhou had been seeing that young actress from the entertainment industry while he was with her. After a huge fight, Taosher mysteriously disappeared, leaving only a pregnancy test report behind. Gu Yanzhou was going out of his mind, searching the world for Taosher, and finally found her washing dishes in the UK. The two reconciled and returned to their home country. At that moment, brilliant fireworks burst open in the pitch-black night sky, illuminating the entire heavens as bright as day. Taosher, I love you. Taosher, marry me. Every advertising screen in the city was lit up with their photo and Gu Yanzhou's declaration of love for Taosher. I watched the scene, my lip twitching. Now this is a real spectacle. Nuo admired the fireworks, clicking her tongue, the heir to the Gu conglomerate, courting a little wallflower DJ from the nightclub scene, splashing out on a whole night of fireworks and buying up every ad screen in town. This is definitely front page news tomorrow. The ailing old Master Gu, furious, made a dramatic return from abroad. He cut off Gu Yanzhou's funds, forced Xia Baiwa to have the baby, and then planned to keep the child while discarding the mother. Gu Yanzhou's cousins were sure to jump at the chance to undermine him, all vying to snatch the position of heir to the Gu group. Nuonyuo and I exchanged a look. And the two of us, mere spectators to the drama, couldn't help but chuckle with schadenfreude. But things didn't unfold the way we had anticipated. Old Master Gu has indeed returned to the country, and he is furious. Yet, Gu Yanzhou remains beaming with satisfaction, navigating the cutthroat world of business without being affected in the slightest. The inside story remains unknown to outsiders. Meanwhile, the hashtag about Gu Yanzhou's citywide romantic gesture has been topping the trending charts online. A whole bunch of hopeless romantics came out of the woodwork. I can't even imagine how happy Taosher must be. If a man ever did that for me, my life would be complete. Another day of envying Taosher, a regular girl who hit the jackpot and married up. When will I ever meet my own Gu Yanzhou? I never thought I'd live to see such a pure love story. I'm a bit disappointed that this didn't bring Gu Yanzhou down, but I'm swamped with work every day, living a full life, so I don't have time to dwell on regrets for long. I was running all over town every day, busy with the 2 plots of land I'd acquired from Gu Yanzhou, while still having to squeeze in video conferences for Anyang City's new tech company. The next time I heard about them was when Nuonyuo came running to me with a wedding invitation. It was for Gu Yanzhou and Taosher. Against all odds, the two of them had actually managed to get past old Master Gu's approval and were getting married. Did you get one? it wouldn't be right for me, his ex-fiancée, to receive one, would it? No nodded. True, if Tauscher managed to marry into the Gu family, she's no simple character. There's no way she'd send you an invitation. A woman's jealousy is not to be underestimated, even though my family's company had business dealings with the Gu family. I specifically asked my father to terminate all contracts that could be ended, especially in light of the broken engagement. Otherwise, as business partners, even if they didn't send me an invitation, my parents would have received one. I thought that would be the end of any connection between us, until that day arrived. A few days before the wedding, Gu Yanzhou came to see me. Zhou Shue, I'm getting married soon. Didn't I give you that French vineyard? We'll order the wine for our wedding from you, so it's a business inquiry. Tomorrow is the day the winery catches fire in my past life. After the fire, the wine from the estate was sold for astronomical prices. Even though I've already moved that batch of wine to another location in advance, ordering today means securing it at the original price before the fire. Gu Yanzhou's luck is just too good. Since it's the wedding wine for Mr. Gu's celebration, of course I agree. However, I'm afraid we can't sign the contract today. I have to leave for Anyang City immediately. How about we finalize the contract when I return the day after tomorrow? I thought Gu Yanzhou would refuse, but to my surprise, he agreed without hesitation. It seems the suspicion I had was wrong. I hadn't planned on going to Anyang, but since I had a couple of free days, I figured I might as well check it out. Nuonyuo came along, looking at the rapidly growing company. She gave me a thumbs up in admiration and said, "Girl, if you had focused on business earlier, your family's company would have been in the national top 10 by now." I didn't confirm or deny it. I used to spend almost all my time on Gu Yanzhou, with little ambition for my career. In this new life, men are fleeting clouds. I want beauty and wealth, and I'm focusing solely on building my career. While Nono and I were exchanging business flattery, a notification chimed on her phone. A fire broke out at a renowned wine estate abroad. Xiao Shuer, isn't that the business you got from that scumbag Gu? It's on fire. I glanced at it and nodded with perfect calm. That's right, it's mine now. Seeing how unruffled I was, Nuonyuo grew frantic. Sis, how can you still be smiling? You're facing a huge loss. Watching her flustered state, I just ruffled her hair and said nothing. I didn't take a loss, I made a killing. I thought after the fire, Gu Yanzhou wouldn't come back to buy wine from me. To my surprise, he still showed up. Mr. Gu, you must have seen the news. There's not much of that batch left, so the price has changed. The well-heeled Mr. Gu waved his hand magnanimously. Money is no object. If Shershur likes it, that's all that matters. It suddenly dawned on me. So it was Tauscher's idea. Can you really come up with 2,000 bottles? Gu Yanzhou asked, his face full of skepticism. Hearing that number, my heart leapt with joy. As Mr. Gu's childhood friend, of course I'll do my part for his wedding celebration. 2,000 bottles, 200 million. To prevent Gu Yanzhou from backing out, the contract was signed on the spot. The more Gu Yanzhou shells out now, the harder he'll fall when the economic crisis hits. Since I was the one supplying the wedding wine, Gu Yanzhou gave me an invitation. I attended the event with Nuonyuo, both of us dressed in our finest, at the wedding banquet. Many of my peers looked at me with a mix of pity and schadenfreude in their eyes, pitying me, a wealthy heiress, for losing out to a naive little DJ from the nightclub scene. I wonder if they're secretly hoping for a scene. Now that their ex-fiancé has shown up at the wedding, wouldn't that make for juicy tabloid headlines? After all, my reputation for being terminally lovesick is well known in our social circle. What are you doing here? A saccharine sweet voice chimed. I turned to look. It was Tauscher, standing there in her wedding gown. That familiar tone, it's as if we've met before, but this is my first time meeting Tauscher since my rebirth. Compared to her pitiful, delicate appearance in my past life, her eyes and expression now are filled with nothing but smugness and happiness. Suppressing my doubts, I raised my glass and walked towards the newlyweds. Mr. Gu, Miss Tao, may you have a lifetime of happiness together. Tauscher looked at me, her smile bright and bold. I should thank you, sister, for taking care of Yanzhou all these years. It's because of you that he ended up right here with me. Things are getting a bit tense, so this is her true nature after all. Oh, by the way, sis, I ran into Uncle Zhou during my prenatal checkup at the hospital last time. I wonder if something's wrong with his health. You should really look after him a bit more. My heart sank. Dad's always been healthy, aside from slightly high blood pressure. What could he possibly be doing at the hospital? On the surface, I remained composed. Thank you for your concern, Miss Tao. I discreetly glanced at Tauscher's now noticeably rounded belly and teased, Miss Tao is so fortunate, even while pregnant, she's still so slender. It seems all the weight is just in her belly." The wedding guests around them chimed in agreement. "It's sure to be a big, healthy boy, Miss Tao. You mustn't eat too much, or the delivery will be difficult later." Tao Shi lowered her head shyly, nestling into Gu Yanzhou's embrace, and murmured softly, "I don't eat that much, it's triplets, that's why my belly looks so big." Triplets. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd of onlookers. They then all began to congratulate Gu Yanzhou on his incredible fortune. The corner of my mouth kept twitching uncontrollably. Gu Yanzhou, is he really that impressive? After the wedding reception, Nua, and I went to my dad's company to find him. Tao Shi's words always left me with a sense of unease. "Si Shue, what brings you to see your dad?" I got straight to the point. "Dad, you went to the hospital recently. Was something wrong with your health? Given this second chance at life, I absolutely cannot let anything happen to Mom and Dad. Otherwise, what would be the point of being reborn?" My dad chuckled and said, "It's nothing serious. I just had a bit of chest pain that day, so I went to the hospital to get checked out. The doctor said it's not a big deal." I still wasn't at ease, so after Dad left for his meeting, I had Nono check the medication he was taking. Nono graduated from medical school, and nowadays, she's the only one I trust. To my surprise, she actually found something wrong. Someone had switched Dad's medication. A cold sweat broke out on my skin, sending a chill down my spine. "Who switched the medicine?" Nua asked, disbelief in her voice. In a daze, I managed to find my voice. "What would happen if someone took this? They'd die from sudden cardiac arrest caused by angina. There's still half the medicine left in my hand. My dad has already taken half the bottle. I can't even imagine what would have happened if he'd taken it all. If Tao Shi hadn't warned me." Suddenly, it was like a bucket of cold water had been thrown over me, shocking me awake. Why would Tao Shi go out of her way to warn me? Is it because she's kind? No. In our past life, she knew exactly how Gu Yanzhou treated me, yet she still married him, stepping over my corpse to do it. She couldn't possibly be that kind, unless, a thought flashed through my mind. I switched my father's medication back, then went to the security room to investigate who had been entering and leaving his office recently. One person stood out as particularly suspicious, a new employee who had only started last month. His role didn't require any direct interaction with my father, yet he had been inside his office. I hired a private investigator to look into his background. The information uncovered only confirmed my suspicions. He used to work at the same nightclub as Tao Shi and even pursued her. A month ago, 1 million was deposited into his account, transferred by Tao Shi's mother. The truth is out. Tao Shi wasn't trying to warn me out of kindness. She was subtly showing off her own plan. And the reason she did this is, she's a reincarnator too. In my past life, my father experienced my tragic death, my mother's descent into madness, and the bankruptcy of his company all in quick succession. Driven to utter despair, he sought out Tao Shi and stabbed her to death. Tao Shi was reborn and, like me, remembers everything from our past life. That's why she had someone swap out my father's medication, and why she spoke to me with such familiarity the first time we met at the wedding. No wonder I had thought the reason so many things changed in this life was because I didn't confront her and demand she leave Gu Yanzhou, as I did in the past life. Her pregnancy before marriage was a calculated move. She successfully leveraged her triplets to secure old Master Gu's approval for her marriage to Gu Yanzhou. She already knew about Gu Yanzhou's affair with the popular starlet from her past life. It wasn't something she stumbled upon by accident. After smoothly marrying Gu Yanzhou, she thought the game was won. Unable to resist the urge to gloat, she was the one who told me about Dad going to the hospital. In her memories from her past life, even if Gu Yanzhou had me humiliated and tortured to death, I still refused to leave him. She thought I was still a hopeless romantic, but she never expected that I had been reborn as well. After learning the truth, I didn't fire that employee. I had my father feign illness and stay home, leaving the company under my management. It created the outward appearance that Tao Shi's treacherous scheme had succeeded. Just as expected, Tao Shi took the bait. Using her status as Mrs. Gu, she launched a comprehensive assault on my family's company. Too bad for her. I was already prepared. On the surface, she had me completely on the ropes, and my company was teetering on the brink. In reality, I had already amassed a huge pile of cash. Combined with what Gu Yanzhou gave me, you could practically call me the nation's cash king. Meanwhile, she had poured a massive amount of money into trying to crush my family's business, and right at this critical juncture, the economic crisis hit. The stock market crashed overnight. Countless companies declared bankruptcy overnight. My family's company was teetering on the brink. The slightest push would have sent it toppling over. That's when Tauscher showed up at our door. She would be the one to wield that hand. Tauscher smiled triumphantly. Jotsi Shue. How does it feel to fall from heaven straight into hell? I glared at her with feigned fury. Tauscher, why would you do this? I gave you Gu Yanzhou, even though you liked him, so why are you still trying to crush my family's company? Tauscher burst into laughter. Did you give Yanzhou to me? You should know that even if you bet your worthless life on it, you could never make him like you. She was right. That was the choice I made in my past life, and I lost the bet. And another thing, she shifted her tone, whispering in my ear, how is your father's health these days? I stared at her face, now magnified right before my eyes. There wasn't a trace of that delicate, pitiful look that begged for protection. It was pure malice and audacity. What do you mean by that? I let just the right amount of panic flash in my eyes for her to catch, playing her like a fiddle. Tauscher was quite pleased with my performance. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, your father doesn't have long to live. Do you know why? Because, I didn't need her to finish, I already knew the truth. But by saying it out loud, she gave me the chance to gather more evidence. Just as she had expected, I was so shocked that I collapsed to the floor, looking utterly devastated and completely defeated. Tauscher was delighted to see me in such a state, but before her joy could last, I suddenly lifted my head to look at her. Tauscher, is this what you wanted to see? Tauscher's smile froze on her face. Under her bewildered gaze, I stood up and took a seat in the chair. I tossed the few contracts on the table toward her. As she looked at the contracts on the table, her body trembled more and more with each page she turned, her eyes rimmed with red. These contracts were for the 2 plots of land in the south and north of the city, the Anyang City Company and the French wine estate. All 4 of these most profitable ventures are mine now. I smiled at her. Tauscher, your biggest mistake after your rebirth was not finding a way to secure these businesses for yourself. Instead, you chose to get pregnant to tie Gu Yanzhou down. The truth is, it wasn't that she didn't want to, she simply couldn't. If she had brought it up with Gu Yanzhou, it would have ruined her image in his eyes. She risked losing everything for nothing. She couldn't take that gamble. Tauscher looked up at me, her eyes practically devouring me whole. She said through gritted teeth, you're a reincarnator too. I shrugged. Isn't that obvious? She let out a loud, almost defiant laugh, and after a long pause, finally spoke. Do you really think I've lost? I've successfully married Yanzhou, and I'm carrying triplets. The Gu Group's empire spans the globe. Even if an economic crisis hits, the Gu family will never go bankrupt. I raised an eyebrow and said coolly, well, let's give it a shot then. Given the vast scale of the Gu Group's holdings, it would take a significant hit, but bankruptcy is unlikely. But hey, you've still got me, haven't you? The economic crisis arrived as predicted, and the Gu Group announced the closure of several of its subsidiaries. As time went on, more and more companies under the Gu family banner were shutting down. Gu Yanzhou showed up at my door. His face was etched with exhaustion, a far cry from the confident, spirited man he once was. Xishue, I have an investment opportunity here. I cut him off coldly. Mr. Gu, with the economic crisis, everyone's just trying to keep their own head above water. Who has the mind for investments right now? Gu Yanzhou fell silent. After a long pause, he said quietly, Xishue, I'm begging you, the Gu Group can't fall. Please help me. You've always helped me before. As if, don't you dare disgust me. I reacted as if I'd just heard the most absurd joke. Mr. Gu, have you forgotten how you treated me like a servant at your beck and call? Every single day I was involved with you, I was a laughingstock. Gu Yanzhou stared at me in shock, as if he couldn't believe the words had come from my mouth. I couldn't care less what he thought. I immediately called security to have him thrown out and banned him from ever setting foot in my family's company again. Back in my office, I made a phone call. An hour later, hundreds of photos and numerous videos of sanitation workers cleaning up the litter left by fireworks on the streets spread rapidly across the internet. One by one, the righteous comments that were originally buried under the deluge of romantic fantasists' posts surged to the top. Armed with photos, it flushed out a huge number of netizens who were unhappy about the fireworks incident. When they set off those fireworks back then, I immediately felt the air quality plummet. One person's public display of affection became a misery for the entire city. Watching the sanitation workers clean up the mess afterwards just left a sour taste in my mouth. Gu had a grand old time setting them off, didn't he? Shows how little he thinks of the rest of us as human beings. What I can't wrap my head around is how so many people were actually cheering on those two good-for-nothings back then. Nua, and I munched on chips while watching the online outrage. And we bought trending spots for every video condemning the fireworks incident, pouring fuel on the fire. There was one particular minute-long video that I paid to push straight to the top of the trending charts. The video shows a mountain on the outskirts of the city that caught fire after fireworks landed on it. While no one was hurt and the blaze was relatively small, it still managed to attract some media attention over the following days. Now, with this revelation coming to light, public opinion has been pushed to a new peak. Everyone kicks a man when he's down. Gu Yanzhou has become the perfect embodiment of this. Amidst the economic crisis and the escalating online backlash, the Gu group is teetering on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, the father of the programmer who died suddenly after returning home in his previous life has also taken to the internet to denounce the Gu group. With him stepping forward, many exploited employees have also come forward to voice their accusations, even directly alleging issues with the Gu group's financial accounts. Blow after blow rained down from above, each one potentially fatal. I watched with great relish while quietly topping up my account. It finally caught the attention of the relevant authorities. The intervention of the authorities led to the complete collapse of the Gu group. Gu Yanzhou, who had connections in both the underworld and legitimate society, had too many shady dealings that couldn't withstand scrutiny. A single investigation uncovered a multitude of problems. In the end, they were slapped with a fine of 52 billion. But the Gu group was on the brink of collapse itself. Where would they find the money to pay, ultimately? Gu Yanzhou was gifted a pair of silver bracelets, a life sentence. Looking at this outcome, I'm quite satisfied. Taosher, however, wasn't so lucky. I packaged up the recording of her admitting to swapping my father's medication, the surveillance footage, and the lackey who helped her do it, and delivered it all to the police station. Because she was pregnant, they showed leniency and didn't detain her. She'll go to prison after she's had the baby, for attempted murder. She'd get 10 years at most and then be out, but with that grudge festering inside her, how could she ever let it go? One night, she broke into our villa and tried to burn us all alive, but I had already had someone keeping an eye on her. When I found out she had bought a large amount of gasoline, I guessed what she was planning. My parents and I left the villa early. Taosher stood before the villa engulfed in raging flames, laughing maniacally. Zhou Shue, if you won't let me live in peace, then you won't either. Does it hurt to be burned alive? Ha ha ha, not at all. I wasn't the one who got burned. I appeared behind her without warning, and I wasn't alone. The police were with me. Taosher turned to look at me, utterly shocked and in disbelief. You're not home. Her voice trembled, a clear measure of the sheer hatred she felt for me. I should have been home at this hour, but then, I had to go and figure out her plan. My faint smile was seen by her as nothing but provocation and gloating. She lunged at me, trying to strangle me. I feigned panic, letting her grip my throat as I fell backward. The hard floor tiles bruised my back. Taosher fared slightly better, but she was pregnant. By the time I got up, 2 streaks of blood were already trailing down her thigh, a horrifying sight. My villa is up in the mountains, quite a distance from the city center. By the time we rushed to the hospital, she had already miscarried. 2 counts of premeditated murder, plus burning down my multi-million-dollar villa and a house full of priceless collections. All told, she'll never see the outside of a prison cell again in this lifetime. But even in prison, she refused to accept her fate. Every day, she would curse my name into the empty air. Later, she came up with a brilliant idea: suicide. Taosher believed that through suicide, she could be reborn once more. But how could such luck possibly strike twice? Gu Yanzhou has asked to see me multiple times from prison, and I've refused every single one. After loving him for over a decade, I know him far too well. He simply can't believe I would change my heart so easily. He refuses to accept that I wouldn't lift a finger to save him. He's the quintessential domineering CEO. He can discard me, but I can never truly leave him. How could he ever accept such a profound failure in his life, or that he led the Gu group to ruin, or accept that the invisible presence by his side for over a decade, had suddenly vanished for good? A year later, he took his own life by smashing his head against the prison wall. With that major worry off my mind, the economic downturn didn't even put a dent in the family business. Thanks to my heads-up, Nua's family company managed to steer clear of any trouble. To show their gratitude, they specifically invited me out to a bar. Xiao Shuer, you're perfect in every way. Except for your habit of putting all your eggs in one basket. Tonight, your girl is gonna show you what's out there, so you don't go and hitch your wagon to the next single horse that comes along. As he spoke, 7 or 8 handsome men of various styles entered the private room. I chuckled wryly and picked a good-looking, clean-cut guy to sit next to me. Nuanual looked at me in surprise, an epiphany. Yeah, I've seen the light. I looked at the handsome guy beside me and teased. A gambling dad, a sick mom, and a broken him.